Yes, I know, I'm not normally late for my own live streams, but there were some complications. I don't want to get into all of them, but let's just say I would have been on time if it hadn't been for stuff coming up that I couldn't foresee. Jungle Runnin', welcome in. I know you were sad that you came late last time, but you were literally like right on time. I was literally in the midst of combing my hair to prepare for this. And Kevin, okay, wow, got a lot of what's ups here. So the reason why you guys haven't seen me in a long time is because there was a big storm that passed through my town, and it was probably the worst storm I've ever seen in my life. It was like lifting up the pillars of my awning like into the air and slamming it down on the ground so hard I could hear it from the basement. And then it like took out part of the awning, and it took out our internet for quite a while. In fact, we actually just got the internet back on Thursday. And then yesterday, I don't remember what happened yesterday. I think I just forgot because I was so happy to have the internet back. So that's what's happened. As far as what's up, I'm going to give you guys some bit of sad news. And that's it. I am not good at Star Fox on the Switch 2. I got the bad ending, which I didn't even know there was a bad ending. I thought you kind of just you would get the credits for doing the route. I didn't know that there were like consequences, and then I just gave up because the game didn't give me any indication of what I did wrong. Not only that, but I felt like I was flailing around like an idiot just trying to hit the targets. And I finally just said, you know what? I just have to come to the realization that I am terrible at shooters. I mean, you should see me in Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour with that shooting the balloons mini game. Like, I couldn't even hit the balloons in that game when they were standing stock still. You expect me to hit a moving target with any extra accuracy? Yeah, you guys don't know me enough if that's what you were thinking. But anyway, how's everyone going here? Jungle Running, Kevin, invisible people that might not have said anything yet. What are some of your cool stories? And hopefully, it's cooler than the storm that hit me. If anyone's got any good news, anything you're excited about, I want to hear it. I think I have something. Oh, yes, of course I do. Vacation Bible School is coming up. That's my exciting news. It'll be my second annual year doing it with this particular parish. Not my second time, period, but with my second time with this particular program. And they're still doing the water balloon fight, which was by far the best part of the last trip. You got major news, and I'm going to be shocked. Ooh, it's either you got yet another girlfriend, you broke up with the girlfriend, in which case, so sorry, or you finally played Zero Escape. Those are my three big guesses. Am I anywhere close to that? Or maybe you finally got a Switch 2 and you realize that the internet are being a bunch of babies and it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be. Oh man, I feel like most people who hate the Switch 2 probably haven't played Donkey Kong Bonanza. I mean, that's my honest opinion. Although, to be fair, I know some people who like the Switch 2 who don't like Donkey Kong Bonanza, in which case, fair. But I've noticed that the vast majority of people who don't like the Switch 2 are the people that they're usually those people that try to doom and gloom everything Nintendo does, like Nintendine and Angry Vigilante Show. It's like, buy the system for yourself and don't just play first party stuff. Like, get some stuff like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in there. Then tell me the Switch 2 is a waste of time. Alright. Girlfriend and you are still together. Very, very nice. I know someone who just got married to an Indian, not Native American, an Indian. And they seem to be pretty happy with each other. So, wouldn't it be hilarious if you were the same person? First gaming laptop with a YouTube channel. Okay. And let me guess, you already have more subscribers than me. Oh, that'd be so cool if that was the case. Nightwatch Kev, let me copy and paste that so that I can see what's up with that. I know Noah Loves Christ, because there were two Noahs in here one time. Noah just started a YouTube channel as well. I'm typically not one to subscribe after only one video, but I know it's there. If he shows up, then I'll be sure to shout him out. All right, got it pasted so that I can go and watch it. And you can just look at all these other successful YouTubers and say, huh, you guys were amateurs with your intros. I got this. I'm going to do way better than you losers. Yeah. My, honestly, I'm not too ashamed of my first YouTube video, besides the fact that I gave a little bit too much personal information on there. So that's why it's unlisted at the moment. But a lot of people do not like looking at their first YouTube videos. Me, I'm alright with it. You just posted an introduction. Very, very nice. Now that I think about it, I should probably post an introduction to my channel. I did have an introduction when I first rebooted it in 2016, but I have since taken my channel in a radically different direction, so I don't think that old intro really fits anymore. Plus, I just think that'd be super cool to be like, yo, a reintroduction to the channel. That way, what do I use to edit videos? I use Movavi. Specifically, I use Movavi 2022 because they keep telling me, oh, Paul, you gotta upgrade to Movavi 2026. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys have too many new tools that I don't know how to use. And I don't know. I don't think people have ever specifically come into the comments and said, what do you think you're doing? Paul, you got this stupid old school Movavi software. Like, if it gets the job done, then that's what matters. You use OBS? I have heard that that's a really good one, especially if you're going to live stream. I honestly don't like the idea of doing any live streams for anything other than talking to you guys. Because, like, I feel like chat engagement is really the most important thing for me when it comes to live streams. Is I like you guys talking even more than I like me talking. So if I can like facilitate that, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it as effectively if I was playing games. Maybe I would. Maybe there are people out there that are just like, I don't want to see your messy hair, Paul. I just want to see you playing games. In which case, what have you been doing for the last 10, no, not 10 years, for the last 8 years that I've been doing video reviews? I've got a ton of gameplay footage on my channel. If you guys want to watch me play games, do your homework. But when I'm doing live streams, this is my chance to show you something that only I can do, and that is communicate with this face, these shoulders. Well, maybe if there's like a hospital surgery where I have to donate my organs to someone, then maybe one of these days someone will have my face, but I doubt it. At the very least, it'll still be mine. You know what I mean? I've been having a pretty weird couple of days lately, guys, so I hope I'm not coming across as too weird today. Who am I kidding? When am I not weird? That's a real question. Let me make sure that's not important. Oh, no, that's pretty important. Okay, cool. All right, we're good. All right. So question for you guys. If you're a gamer, what is a game coming up that you're super excited about? And why is it the Ocarina of Time remake? And if you're not a gamer, then my question becomes, what would you like to see in my end of year videos? Do you want to see longer form videos, but just like quality speech talking about them? Or like, I don't know. Like, I never know who to please in my videos. So I told myself I'm just gonna pretend that Danielle and Matt are the only two people watching my stuff. And if they like it, then cool. If it only gets 2 views and those views are from them, cool. Yo, it's Jevil! Let me guess what the 2 things you have to tell me is. 1, you beat the secret boss in Deltarune Chapter 5, and 2, Danganronpa 2x2 was delayed until early 2027. Yeah, I know, it hurts me too. Uh, hurts me deep in my soul. Unless there was something else you wanted to let me know, but you tend to be a pretty predictable person. Which is funny, given your namesake. But glad you could come in, Jevil. Yeah, okay, nice to know I guessed it. Yeah. But hey, at least they revealed that there's an actual name to the new scenario, and it's called Slayhem Mode, I believe. And then the original is just called Original. Yeah. They ran out of creative titles, I guess. I do think it's nice that you have the option to just go straight into the new scenario, and you don't have to worry about rebeating that tried and true game over and over again. Yours truly probably still will, just because I'll want to contrast the new performances with the old, because they're re-recording all the dialogue from scratch. So of course I want to see if Todd Haberkorn still sounds as good as he does. 20% more content. Yes, I did hear that, and that is cool. That is genuinely very amazing. Yeah, I hope that they have some kind of skill transfer, because, like, I imagine what they meant by that is we highly recommend you beat the original game first because there are plot beats in there that'll make it easier for you to understand what's going on. But I'd like to think that what they actually meant by that is, hey, if you level yourself up to this level, then you can transfer your skills over to Slayhem. What do I use to... Didn't I already answer that? Oh, okay. Above you said, what do you use to edit videos? Now you're asking what I use to edit. Movavi? I know that recently I discovered this new program for editing pictures, but my artistic ability is questionable. Like, I've definitely gotten some people praising certain aspects of my art, but I don't think I've had a single person compliment my actual drawing skills. Like, there was one time I tried to draw the Garden of Eden, and someone said, like, oh, that's, considering your art style, that's nice enough. But that's, I didn't get the second thing. Oh, okay. Grab my tissue. Oh, goodness. Jevil, you can make me cry, then that's saying something, because it's pretty hard to get me to cry. Although I will tell you, Zero Time Dilemma made me cry. The only one scene, but that one scene really did it. And, oh boy, I can't wait for Lodo to be here, because I want to see how far he's been getting into it. Slayhem is doing all 6 chapters. Oh, I see. Yeah, I think I do remember before they made the announcement about 20% more content that they originally said it was going to be just as big, which made me think, okay, there's still going to be 6 chapters, like there is in all Danganronpa games. So maybe there's a chapter 7 in this one. Who knows? But keep it coming. I want to hear a new Danganronpa 2 story. This is like probably my second or third most hyped game, fourth most hyped game out of all the ones coming up. The ones beating it are, let's see, Ocarina of Time, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, and a certain game that I'm not allowed to discuss. But I was given a chance to look at the beta testing room of this upcoming game, and I feel super honored by that. September 30th, 2026. Ah, Mario Kart Tour. They're finally realizing that microtransactions are not something people like in video games. So there's a part of me that's actually kind of relieved about that, but there's another part of me that's going to be like, oh shoot, that means that people are going to have to archive all of Charles Martinet's new lines in that game because now we won't be able to readily hear his voice in that game. Honestly, I played way too much of Mario Kart Tour. I never paid any money for it though. I can't feel proud of myself for that. And I got Gold Mario too, without spending a single penny. But I don't like the structure of mobile games. I hate how they're so like you gotta play it when it's available. Once it's down forever. It just feels like respect um, they don't respect game preservation, which I'm not a game preservation apologist by any means, but I do think it would be nice if the secondhand market didn't try so darn hard to make people have to spend so much money just to play timeless classics. Like, you would think it would be the other way around. An ancient game should cost less money because it's much smaller than games nowadays. Oh, yeah, that would be. It would be all right if we got DLC for Mario Kart World. Personally, I'm hoping that it's free DLC, just because I think if you were going to charge the game $80, it should have felt like it already had DLC to begin with. But the fact that people want it, one, I think people just expect every game to have DLC nowadays, and I'm not a big fan of that mindset. I feel like just be happy with the game that you have and see DLC as a bonus rather than a necessity. Maybe I'm just an old timer where we didn't really get DLC in the old days, but at the same time, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is one of those games where I feel like they really, really did it nice with the DLC. They should do a remaster of a Mario Kart. Double Dash would be a nice remaster. I tried replaying that game again, and oh my gosh, it has not aged well in the slightest. Except for that menu music. That is really cool. I got a point. Uh, I was talking so fast I forgot which point you're referring to, but nice to know someone agrees with my takes. It's pretty rare to get someone saying that nowadays. I'm usually the contrarian online, where like I'll love a game that everyone hates and vice versa. Um, I'm honestly surprised my Ocarina of Time Master Quest video did as good as it did because I wasn't too kind on the original Ocarina of Time. It definitely hasn't aged very well, in my opinion. I'm the type of guy that I look for timeless games, not good for their time games. Like the kind of game that you look at it 20 or 30 years later and you genuinely have to question if it was a game from 20 or 30 years ago. Now, in my opinion, a game that I'm not good at, but I feel like that deserves the label of timeless would be F-Zero GX. Like, you look at that game nowadays, and you wouldn't be able to tell that it's 23 years old. But Ocarina of Time, on the other hand, boy, are those smeared textures and the 20 frames per second and the slow dialogue really obvious in 2026. Yeah, Mario Kart Double Dash, I can appreciate what it tries to do, but the controls were just so slippery. And I thought it was stupid that you can only get 2 items if you specifically run into a double item box. Like, say you have 1 item and then you run into a second item box, you can't get a second item. Like, I just feel like that's so stupid. The battle mode and the stages. I haven't played the battle mode of Double Dash, but considering that I wasn't good at the main game, I don't know if I ever will. But as far as the stages, I'm trying to think if there's any that I actually like from that game. Hmm. Nope, can't think of any. Well, I guess Waluigi Stadium wasn't that bad. How long was I without power? Ooh, that was a delayed reaction. From the 4th to Thursday. So about 5 days, I think. Which, you know, it wasn't as bad as it sounds. I was able to go to the gym to upload, I think it was my Rhythm Heaven review, because goodness knows I wasn't going to just break my upload schedule just because of a little power outage. But my dad definitely wasn't as fortunate because he does not have a laptop like I do. He has just a regular PC. So he was just unable to work for so many days. Played Double Dash long ago. Controls were fine. You know, that's what I used to say about Mario Kart 64. But then when I go back to it, I'm like, oh my goodness. Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart World have vastly improved on this. Yeah, no injuries, not even a scratch. So we were very, very fortunate, all things considered. I think it might have been a mini tornado because there were definitely quite a lot of people in my neighborhood who had like giant branches fall off of their trees. I saw one neighbor who had like this giant tree trunk just tip right over into their driveway, not on the house, thankfully. And then there was like a shop that caught on fire. And if the worst that happened to my house was an awning, then, you know, that's not half bad. The DS version of Mario Kart 64. There's a DS version? Oh, you mean Mario 64. Oh, okay. Super Mario 64 DS is the kind of game that I would much rather play on the Wii U than on the DS. Because playing that game with the control pad was just terrible. Do I get nervous? Oh, I get nervous all the time. Are you kidding me? Sometimes just saying me, hey everyone, this is Paul, like that I do at the start of every video, that usually takes me like a good 5 minutes to like catch my breath and be like, okay, I got this. And then there's always the fear that people won't like what I make, and um, yeah, no, I get stage fright just as much as the average person. I think I make it seem natural because I used to give public speeches, and I actually didn't like scripting my speeches, so that's why I almost never script my videos on this channel. I say almost never because, like, a few of the ones that Isabel was in, obviously she had to know what she was doing. So, like, you know, I wrote a lot of the lines that she would say, but usually when it was just me, like 99% of it is all unscripted. Super Mario 64 DS was amazing in everything but the controls. If you're playing it on the original DS, and by original DS, I'll be right back. Guys, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. I mean, this monstrosity. Yeah, that's right. It's not in great condition anymore, but I still have the OG model of the DS. And trying to play with this, yeah. People nowadays will, when they talk about DS games, they often will just assume that everyone plays the Lite or the DSi. Yours truly never had a DS Lite or a DSi. He just jumped straight into the first model. And I honestly, in some ways, still prefer the old model because I remember a friend of mine got the DS Lite, and I just remember thinking, I don't know, it's not as cool to me. What a oh, thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. I do have a couple of other gaming memorabilia in here, right off the top of my head. I have this GameCube themed grip for the Switch 1. Sadly, it doesn't work on the Switch 2, but if I ever want to play Switch 1 games again, I can do it in the style of Nintendo's second best controller. I have recently come to the conclusion that I do not think the GameCube controller is the best one anymore. Now, I've changed my mind. I think it's the Wii U now. I hope for the new scenario they don't use the same area for each. Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree. I hope that you can like explore new parts of the island, which the trailer hinted that you could. So I think that'll be the case. I got this Breath of the Wild themed carrying case for Switch 1 and 2 because Switch 2 cards are the same size, so you can fit Kirby Air Riders in there. And then we got, here's my original Switch, the same Switch that I bought. I never bought a replacement. Not the same Joy-Cons. These are actually third-party Joy-Cons, so they'll probably never drift. And to give you, for those of you that haven't upgraded to the Switch 2 yet, I want to show you just how much of a size difference these systems have. So this is the Switch 2. Like, isn't it crazy how much bigger it is? And I do not have buyer's remorse for even a second of this thing. Because all the argument from the internet about, oh, the Switch 2 needs more system sellers, look, the only person who can decide what a system seller is yourself. So who cares if there aren't any system sellers for other people? Just you decide what you want for the Switch 2. If you think that Dragon Drive is a system seller, then cool, there you go. For me personally, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, even Switch 2 Welcome Tour, I would say is a system seller, because I love Trivial Pursuit. Well, if you know about Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair theme, they can easily change. Yeah, well, I think they absolutely can. Yeah, it does. It is pretty gigantic, and I still have the original set of Joy-Cons. Although to be fair, I try to use the D-pad as often as possible. Let's see if I got. Ooh, this thing is pretty. I don't know if too many people have talked about this. This is a Wii Remote charging station. So what you do is you just pop the Wii Remote in like this, and you can recharge the batteries. Because I've been replaying some GameCube games lately, in case you couldn't tell by my recent upload schedule. And so I got this new type of Wii Remote where you just do like this. I just cut my nails, so that's why it's a bit hard to take out. But see, no batteries, but you got a battery pack instead. So if you don't want to keep having the Wii Remotes eat AA batteries, just pop it in this baby, which has a USB cable that you just plug it into the computer. Even the Switch 2 dock has USB port, so like I can charge my phone with my Switch 2 dock. There's something that the people like Angry Vigilante Show at Nintendo won't tell you, is that the Switch 2 dock is a makeshift USB station. Major credit, I never looked nervous, really. That is so flattering. But I guess I just must not show nerves all that much. But like, trying to think, what was an example of a video where I showed my face in a video and I was like super nervous making it? I think my introduction in the Best Games of 2024 video, I was pretty nervous for that because I was like, I was in nice clothes. I was on a real stage that was at Oklahoma University, so prestigious place, and it had actual curtains, and I flubbed my lines. So that's why there was a bit of an awkward pause in that sequence, because the original script, again, one of the only videos I actually scripted, because Esabel was in it. The original script said, I thank you, Esabel, for keeping it brief, because her 21-second speech was longer than the amount of time that was spent polishing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But what I said instead was, I thank you, Esabel, for keeping it brief, although her 21-second speech was longer than the amount of time spent polishing Pokemon Sword and Shield. So you might have noticed that you saw me like go like this for a second, because I was like, oh shoot, I had one job, and I blew it. Absolutely blew it. Although, credit where credit is due, that scene actually only took me 2 takes. And Esabel's stand-up comedy at the end, that also only took her 2 takes because she really had it down. What location would I like? And oh, I would like a water park actually. That would be nice. Oh, that's a good question. Hmm. Something related to Zero Escape would be nice, but I highly doubt they're going to do that. They already have a Zero Escape reference if you know where to look, but I won't spoil it for anyone who doesn't know. Um, hmm, that's a really good question, Jubble. Yeah, a water park would be nice. Hmm, I'd have to think about that, because if I say like a water park would be nice, then that's inevitably gonna be a murder location. So then a place that's supposed to be a lot of fun is gonna be a moment of sadness. That is, if you can take Danganronpa 2 seriously. Although from what I've heard, Slayhem mode is not gonna be connected to Killing Harmony. So maybe I actually will take it seriously because I won't have to worry about that ending recontextualizing everything. Better to charge it, saves yeah, no, that's something that I've hated about the Wii for a very, very long time, is I really don't like how much the Wii remote eats up batteries. That's why, that's why I really like playing GameCube games on the Wii, is because you can just point the Wii remote at the GameCube channel, hit the start button, and call it a day, and the Wii remote automatically turns off. Oh, by the way, for any of you guys that are looking into nostalgia for the GameCube, I do have a few reviews in the works. I finished a review for WarioWare Inc. Mega Party games. I'm just waiting to put it out because not a whole lot of people have watched my Rhythm Heaven Groove review, so I'm hoping that that has some time to get some traction. Twilight Princess, I just got the Master Sword. I don't know if that's considered a spoiler or not, because like nearly every other Zelda game has the Master Sword, but there you go. And then Mario Party 4, I still haven't played yet, but I have a copy that my friend let me borrow. So hopefully I'll be able to beat it. I mean, as long as it doesn't have those stupid control stick rotating mini games from Mario Party 1, it should be good to go. Yeah, no, I I love delays. I mean, let me rephrase that. I love delays when the end product ends up being better as a result of the delay. I mean, look at games like Tears of the Kingdom. That game was infamously delayed for an entire year to bug test it. And as a result, can you genuinely think of any part of that game that was glitchy or buggy? And if you can, let me know, because I have yet to hear anyone talk about that, if that's the case. Because Tears of the Kingdom is like such an insanely polished game that even like the newest God of War looks like an Ocarina of Time in comparison in the polish department. Sure, maybe it looks more photorealistic and you can see every hair in Kratos' beard, but you can betcha that they're doing a lot of tricks to make that game look as well as it does while also not overheating the hardware. Like, for example, you get Kratos, this big chunky guy, somehow able to squeeze between so many narrow pathways. Tears of the Kingdom ain't got none of those narrow pathways. It has its own fair share of tricks, but they feel like they make sense in that world universe. Like when Link uses recall, there's a bit of an animation of him like going through the environment. That makes sense, but the thing Kratos does doesn't. Hollow Knight Silk Song was delayed. Yeah, I mean, yours truly is not going to play it because he is pretty bad at the original Hollow Knight, but I can definitely appreciate everything that it did in like the music and the general gameplay and graphical level. And I heard the developers even toned down the difficulty so that people who are saying it was just too darn hard can get a little bit of a reprieve. Another famous game that got infamously delayed was Twilight Princess. And in my opinion, Twilight Princess still holds up pretty well. Like, it's definitely a bit rough on original hardware, but it's not like so rough that it's unplayable. It just takes getting used to if you're used to the Wii U version, because there's quite a lot of stuff in Twilight Princess HD that you didn't realize was a major change until you go back to the original and you're like, they actually tweaked quite a lot more than you would think. For example, the controls or the camera and the aiming controls are inverted in the GameCube version. And in the Wii U version, you have the option to one, use gyro, and two, to uninvert that stuff. And you don't really hear people talking about that. They're like, oh, Twilight Princess HD kind of just improved the textures and it had a couple of quality of life features. In my opinion, being able to uninvert the controls is a huge change, because trying to push the C stick to the right to turn the camera to the left just doesn't make any sense. Another thing is that camera seems like it's a lot more movable. Like in the GameCube version, there's quite a lot of set angles and it can feel a bit twitchy. And so they touched that up. The graphics also, like playing Twilight Princess in its original version after you played the Wii U version, you don't realize exactly how blurry that original game was. It feels like someone smeared Vaseline on the screen in comparison. So I definitely appreciate the HD remake way more ever since I'm replaying the GameCube version. Didn't Advance Wars reboot? Yeah, it did. And that was a delay that did not pay off, because from what I've heard, that game didn't sell well, and not a whole lot of people talk about it anymore. I didn't like that game very much either, so there you go. That's why I didn't have a review of it. Zero Time Dilemma was a game that got delayed quite a lot. In fact, at one point it was indefinitely delayed. And then the fans did Operation Bluebird and they put it back into development, and you can definitely tell that it had a really rocky development. But in my personal opinion, I feel like it was good enough of a game for what it was that I can overlook what was originally promised. You still prefer Wind Waker over Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild? Ooh, that's a hot topic. I definitely not my opinion. I would Wind Waker, in my opinion, is my second least favorite. No, actually, no, I stand corrected. I think I'm gonna have the controversial take that Wind Waker is my least favorite 3D Zelda. I would even rather play Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 than replay Wind Waker. Do you think Spike Chunsoft needs new people for 3D art? Depends on which game you're talking about. Because if you're talking about Zero Escape, heck yeah. Like, as much as I love Zero Time Dilemma, I think that game is, like, insanely ugly. Like, even by 3DS standards, I thought it looked terrible. But if you look at, like, some of their newer games, like Master Detective Archives, although maybe that was more 2Kyo games. If 2Kyo games what had, like, former Spike Chunsoft members in it. AI the Somnium Files, those games have pretty good character drawings. What, Wind Waker being my least favorite Zelda? I mean, I played it on the Wii U and the GameCube. And playing it on the Wii U was only marginally better, in my opinion. My second least favorite Zelda would be Ocarina of Time. I just think that game does not hold up very well, especially since I was replaying Master Quest. And it felt like it was a night and day difference between the dungeons and the overworld. The overworld was an absolute slog. Like, it felt like the dialogue was just way too slow, and Link was just this expressionless robot of a character. And the environments, like, there were a few bits that were cool. Like, whenever there was a waterfall, that was pretty cool. But it was just so slow and tedious. At least in the dungeons, I had to think about what I had to do. Whereas, like, Ocarina of Time's Overworld. I've played that game so many times, it's like playing on autopilot at this point. Ultra Despair Girls made Nagito look like a ghost. I heard Danganronpa S did Nagito dirty as well, but we don't talk about Danganronpa S, do we? Yeah, no, if I had to make a list of all the 3D Zelda games, how I would rank them, I'd say Tears of the Kingdom is the best, then Breath of the Wild, then a, a Link Between no, A Link Between Worlds is a 2D Zelda game. Well, I don't really like the 2D Zelda games besides A Link Between Worlds. So my Zelda tier list is Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, A Link Between Worlds, Twilight Princess, uh, Skyward Sword, Master Quest, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, and Wind Waker. There you go. And then all the other 2D Zelda games are just pieces of garbage, in my opinion. Minish Cap is all right. I would say it's a tarnished piece of decency. Definitely not a game I want to replay anytime soon. But boy, would I love a remake of it. But for those of you wondering why the heck do you hate Wind Waker so much? First of all, I've never been a fan of those graphics. I know that over time people have warmed up to them, not me. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is one of the ugliest games I've ever seen. And to this day, I still think it's one of the ugliest games I've ever seen. Besides Zero Time Dilemma, that is. I did not like the dungeons in Wind Waker. I thought that they were too hallway-ish. I did not like how noisy Link was. I mean, to be fair, he had his fair share of noisy moments in Ocarina of Time, but he felt like he was just even louder. Like, just making a simple jump, he'd do this high-pitched scream. And then, like, if you accidentally hit your sword against the wall, it would make this, like, hyper-realistic scratching metal against metal type of sound, and it would always hurt my ears a lot. And then there was that late game fetch quest, which glad the HD version fixed that. Sailing could be a bit tedious. I didn't like how slow the dialogue moved. Like, at least in Ocarina of Time, sometimes you could speed up the dialogue, but like in Wind Waker, you can never speed it up. It's just this painfully slow crawl. The characters don't move their mouths. The animation is absolutely atrocious. Then the opening of the game is just an absolute slog. You can't skip the cutscenes. The music is just terrible. Do I need to say any more? Hopefully that's convinced you guys. Wind Waker had cool mini games. Oh, the mini games were terrible in my opinion. But if you liked them, then that's cool. Cool exploration. See, that's the thing. There was only like a handful of islands that were actually fun to explore. The rest were like just a giant glorified circle. And that's it. Like Windfall Island, Outset Island, Dragon Roost was alright, I guess. One of the few good songs in that game, in my opinion. Cool equipment. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. Wind Waker had some decent items. No weapon breaking. Yeah, I guess that's true. But to be fair, I did recently replay Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom when they came to Switch 2. And I found that the weapon breaking wasn't that big of a deal because you get so many weapons anyway, that as long as you're like picking up the enemy's weapons, it's really not that big of a deal. Oh, the treasure hunting is just terrible in Wind Waker. Like, it's alright on the Wii U because you like have the gamepad to help you like navigate where the Ring of Light is. But if you're playing it on the GameCube version, you have to have like an insanely good awareness of like where that ring was in 3D space in this giant pool of blue. And then you have to wait for the super long animation of the crane going down, and then you have to. It's just a very tedious game, in my opinion. And then you have to play the Wind's Requiem all the time. You know, Ocarina of Time, it had its fair share of playing the songs over and over again, but it didn't feel as excessive as it was in Wind Waker. One thing I will give Wind Waker, though, has a good story and it has good combat. Like, I really like facing the enemies in Wind Waker. Like, I really like the parry system. I like how the music changes as you hit the enemy over and over again. And I really like the final battle. I thought that was incredible. I thought the set pieces were incredible, and I think that the payoff was well worth it. I just wish the games that Wind Waker was setting up were better, because those, in my opinion, are just dreadful. Way worse than Wind Waker. I also don't like that Link gets the green outfit in Wind Waker. Like, ever since I played Breath of the Wild, I've come to realize that Twilight Princess is the only Zelda game where Link actually looks good in that green tunic. It just seems so out of place compared to Link's hatless appearance. Like, if you play Wind Waker again on New Game Plus, you can like play in Link's pajamas. And one, my favorite color is blue, and two, I just think Link looks better without a hat. I wish there was a way to just do that to begin with. I don't know why the Zelda team had such a fascination with making Link look like Peter Pan. I remember when Breath of the Wild came out and Link by default didn't wear a hat. I remember the development team got that suggestion from one of the younger members of their team. And they said, oh, I guess we never really thought about that. I guess it is kind of stupid that we always make Link wear a hat. And apparently that was like the foundation of most of Breath of the Wild's cool ideas is why does Link always auto jump? Why can't we let Link jump on his own? Why do the dungeons have to have a bunch of small keys to unlock more doors to get an item to get more small keys to get the big key to beat the boss? Why can't the dungeons be more open-ended? You know, questions like that are what, in my opinion, made Breath of the Wild a masterpiece. I get the complaints about the Divine Beasts, and I do think Vah Ruta is way too easy, and so is Vah Meadow. But conceptually, to be able to manipulate those dungeons in such a way, like maybe they were better executed, like they had more thematic differences, and you didn't have the same old get to each module, and you had the characters explaining that every single time, and the bosses had more variety. Then maybe I could see this being the new standard for Zelda games. But in my opinion, the true king of 3D Zelda dungeons is Ocarina of Time Master Quest. That definitely wasn't always my opinion. I used to think Twilight Princess had the best dungeons in the series, and to a certain extent, I still do think that. But Master Quest is like one of those Zelda games that really makes you think. Like, really think. Like, you're not just... Like, Twilight Princess's dungeons were mostly just cool set pieces. Like, you'd be like, okay, I have the boomerang, so now the solution is obvious. Whereas in Ocarina of Time, sometimes you'd have these switches and torches in the most obscure places, and you'd have to know where to look and what to do with them. And that was genuinely, like, amazing. But it wasn't, like, obscure hard. It was just flat out difficult, but fair at the same time. If I'm a big fan of cartoons, I do like cartoons. That's the thing. I love Aladdin and The Lion King and Arthur. Franklin I used to really like. But Wind Waker, just, ugh. The feet were just, I found that they were too small and the faces were kind of creepy. And yeah, just, it felt like they were trying to like make the characters as unrealistic as possible. And then they kind of did the same thing with Twilight Princess, but at least they made Link look pretty good. In my opinion, I think Twilight Princess Link is, from an aesthetic standpoint, I think Twilight Princess Link is my favorite. He's just a really cool guy, like, especially once you get the hidden skills. Like, some of these maneuvers that Link can pull off are just genuinely mind-blowing. And it makes combat, in my opinion, I think Twilight Princess might be the most fun game in the series from a combat perspective because of that. Toon Link is a cartoon Zelda game. Yeah, not a big fan of Toon Link. In my opinion, he's my least favorite Link. Like, even CDI Link had cringy one-liners, whereas Toon Link, like, the only thing he's got going for him is he has a lot of expressions, which, you know, is kind of cool. It certainly beats the blank slate he was in Ocarina of Time. But Toon Link is just one, his feet are too small, and his voice is too loud and squeaky, and his jumps are just like you have to commit to a jump in Wind Waker. Like, at least in stuff like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, you could like kind of correct your jump in midair so that you land on the right platform. Whereas in Wind Waker, you jump off the cliff and you commit to it. And if you're thinking, Paul, no one would think about that. Try playing the original Mario Brothers or Ice Climber and look at those games' jumping physics. That's how I feel when I play Wind Waker. Is I want the mid-air control that games like Super Mario Brothers revolutionized. And if the auto jump can work better in a Nintendo 64 game than a GameCube game, you know you got problems. And the funny thing is, I used to love Wind Waker. I used to think it was like one of those 9 out of 10 types of games that I wouldn't replay a ton, but I liked it enough where I said, like, you know, this was worth getting a GameCube over. And over time, my opinions changed. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with gaming in general nowadays, is just there's not enough openness to changing your mind about things. Like, I think people look at, like, their nostalgia games and they think, oh, this can never be topped. There are plenty of games that I have nostalgia for that when I go back and replay them, it is really genuinely hard for me to think, why did I ever like this in the first place? Like, I remember when Banjo-Tooie came onto Switch Online. I remember being so excited about that because I was like, oh my gosh, I used to love Banjo-Tooie, and I thought it was so much better than Banjo-Kazooie. And I don't know what the heck I was on because it was borderline unplayable when I played it on Switch Online. Like, the controls were inverted again, so it meant that egg aiming was a real pain. And I thought that there just wasn't really a whole lot of platforming. Like, it was mostly just like riding on Kazooie through these really barren environments, which at the time I really liked, but looking back on it, Banjo-Kazooie had way more compact environments. Like, nearly every single part of each level in Banjo-Kazooie had some kind of significance to it, and you could usually use that as a way of, like, orienting yourself. Like, if you got lost, you usually had some kind of central landmark to, like, realize, okay, well, if I'm looking at this from this angle, then I know where I'm going. Whereas Banjo-Tooie, not so much. Well, Witchy World is kind of the exception to that. I do really like Witchy World. But generally speaking, I feel like Witchy World is one of the only good worlds in Banjo-Tooie, in retrospect. You like a more unrealistic Zelda game? Well, we will see what happens when you when the Ocarina of Time remake gets more reveals, because we still haven't seen what the environments are going to look like. Personally, I highly doubt this is going to happen, but I would love it if the Ocarina of Time remake, like Breath of the Wildified it, where it like made it more open world and maybe like had some of that game's mechanics. Like, I get it. When you're remaking a game, at what point is it a remake and more of its own game? Like, I think that's why a lot of people, not including myself, were pretty annoyed with the direction the stories took in the Final Fantasy VII remakes, because they thought it was just too unfaithful to the originals. But in my opinion, there are things about Ocarina of Time that desperately need changing. And I think it would just be an added bonus if it took the Final Fantasy VII route. Because, I don't know, I would love it if they were able to change things up and, like, make it feel like a modern game and not that it was a 1998 game that just looks better. I hope you guys are okay with all that roasting that I just did. When my channel started out, I was the kind of guy that I'm pretty sure the only reason people liked me back then is because they thought it was, they thought the way I complained was funny. But the thing is, you'll never hear me saying things like, oh, well, I only like it because of nostalgia. I used to be like that, but nowadays I've learned that you have to look at a game based on how fun it is to play in the moment. And for me, there's a lot of games that I used to love back when I played them, and then other games came along that made it hard to go back to. Like I used to love Mario Kart Wii, for example. I would say that was another 9 out of 10 masterpiece, but going back to it is absolutely miserable. And I've gotten to the point where I never want to play Mario Kart Wii again, which I did not used to think that back when I used to have it. Another hot take, the Logan movie is your least favorite X-Men movie. I've never actually seen the X-Men movies, so I'm not sure how much of a hot take that is. In fact, I don't even know who Logan is. Do I have any hot takes in movies? That's a good question. I don't like the Goblet of Fire movie. I don't know if that's a hot take. You played Breath of the Wild for a while, and then you gave it to your cousin. You know, to be fair to Breath of the Wild, I can see people not liking it as a Zelda game because it is very different from the Zelda formula. But me personally, I like how different it is from the Zelda formula because it did feel kind of formulaic in the old games. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Breath of the Wild has its fair share of formulaic moments, but they felt more naturally integrated into the story. Whereas in Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, it felt like all of these staples of the dungeons were just there because they were there for so long that they didn't know how to change it. Like, for example, why does every single dungeon have a map and a compass? Like, I get that that's convenient, but it feels like you're slowing down the pace just for the sake of, well, we gotta have a dungeon map and compass because nostalgia. And also, why do so many dungeons have keys in them? If if people like Ganondorf really wanted to stop you from having all this power, like they surely would have made their defenses a lot harder to get through. For that matter, why are these items even in the dungeon? It's like it doesn't make any sense why there should be these random stuff just hanging around, and they all happen to be in treasure chests, and there's no dust or anything like that. Whereas with Breath of the Wild, they contextualize the formulaic stuff. Like, why do you have to activate all the terminals in the Divine Beasts? To authenticate who's riding it, I would say. Why do the Divine Beasts exist? To fight against Ganondorf. Why do you need all of the shrine upgrades? Because Link lost all of his strength because he got atrophy after being in the Shrine of Resurrection. I like it when there's context to everything, besides just it's gotta be that way. You played Lego Fortnite, and it does the same mechanic with the cold and the heat. That's pretty cool. I don't know if I'll ever play Lego Fortnite because I'm pretty bad at shooters. But I do remember one of my finest memories in the few times I did play Fortnite was when I was so determined to I was so determined to defeat the player nearby that I like followed him into the back of a truck and I picked up the nearest axe and I went to town. That was the only kill I got the whole round. And I felt so proud of myself because I was so bad at it. But I had that one little victory and I will take, well, I don't know about taking it to my grave, but I will say at the very least, I got one defeat in my entire time playing Fortnite. More a survival game? Okay. I don't know how much I like survival games. I guess, like, I tried playing this game called Lost in Blue for the DS, and that was, like, a hardcore survival game. Like, it was such, like, you had to like upgrade your stomach just to be able to explore more of the island. And so you would have to like constantly be on the hunt for food, and you had the very real possibility of your main character starving to death. And it seems cool in theory, but in practice, it's kind of frustrating. And I don't remember why, because it's been so long since I've played it. But I just remember thinking, I don't think I can finish this game. It's a cool concept, but I wish it was better. Lego Fortnite, you can dodge roll in that game. That's cool. Yeah, no, I really like dodge rolling. I think it's fun when games reward you for dodging right on time. That's why I love Breath of the Wild. How like if you dodge an attack at just the right time, you like slow down time so you can get in a whole bunch of hits. Whew. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here because I'm all of a sudden just feeling very, very fatigued. Hopefully, no one comes in and says, "Yo, Paul, you're ready for the fun stuff," and I'm just like, "Oh, the timing." But yeah, I think I need to have a bit of a rest. But I do want to thank all of you for coming in. So thank you, Jebel. Thank you, Jungle Runnin' and Kevin the Conservative. I think that was everyone. We had a bit of a smaller crowd today. Yeah, there we go. Jungle Runnin', Kevin the Conservative, and Time Jester Jebel. Thank you all for your support. Yeah, no, it was great talking about Danganronpa. Here's hoping you're patient enough to wait all that time. So thank you very much for joining, you guys. I hope that you all have a great rest of your day. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.